G'day footy fans, Ash here.
Nice to see you.
And this week I'm going to do a combined footy lowdown video because I have got a hella busy week with a lot of things I'm doing. So I won't be putting out 2 or 3 videos this week. I'm just going to do it all in one and cram it in just like it's exam time. And I have got those coming up too. So let's jump straight into it with the votes for this week. And Geelong defeated Brisbane by 41 points. I gave the 1 vote to Tom Stewart, 17 intercepts in the game. That was incredible. 2 to Sean Manor, 30 disposals and 5 goals. Would generally get you up in the 3 vote range, but Bailey Smith had about 750,000 disposals at a pretty good clip, and God knows how many metres gained, but it was a lot, so he gets the 3. Sydney took care of Collingwood by 6 points. I gave 1 vote to Isaac Quaynor, another good game from him. He's having a pretty good season. 2 to the Lizard, Nick Blakey, having a ripper season as well. And 3 to the man, Brodie Grundy, who had a big comeback after a very down game the week before against the Kangaroos, and he got himself the medal for that game as well. So good stuff there. Gold Coast Suns took on Yahtzee up in Darwin, and the Suns continued their winning run that they've had for 4,000 years at the home of football TIO Stadium, winning by 25 points. And I gave the votes to 1 to Bodie Yuland of the Suns, 2 to Noah Anderson of the Suns, who's having a quietly good season, I must admit. There's not much talk about him. Maybe if he played for a Victorian club, we'd hear a bit more. Not that old cliche. And 3 to Johnny Noble, who is having a ripper season, and he just loves playing in Darwin. Goanna Crows took on North Melbourne Kangaroos and defeated them by 68 points. At one stage, it felt like they were about 150 points in front about 10 minutes into the second quarter. That second quarter was one of the best quarters of football you'll ever see, and some of the usual suspects popped up to make that possible. We had Isaac Rankin getting 1 vote, 2 to Jordan Dawson, the skipper, and 3 to the quiet achiever, in my opinion, James Peatling. He is another one who's putting together a quietly good season. Had a little injury earlier on, but he's fully recovered from that and playing great footy. The Nam Demons took on the Hawks and ran all over the top of them in the second half to win by 39 points. They're in pending troubles down at Dingley. Well, the media would like us to believe that, but I think they'll still be fine. I gave 1 vote to Cade Chandler of the D's, 2 to Tom Sparrow of the D's, another fella who's having a really good season and benefiting from Christian Petrarca and Clayton Oliver moving on from the club, and 3 to Disco Daniel Turner, mid-season pickup. Probably one of the better mid-season draftees, you would think. You just don't hear about him a lot because he doesn't play for a big Victorian club. Plays for a small Victorian club. Carlton got back on the winner's board. We all knew it was going to happen because there are some impending troubles down at the kennel. But also the old new coach bounce back. The old, hey, if we perform this week, we're going to get kept on by the new coach. But also we're going to show that we didn't really like the old coach that much. And the Blues had all the momentum coming from behind and won by 12 points at Marvel Stadium. Patrick Cripps had a very, very big last quarter. A lot of people saying he was the best on ground for the entirety of the game. I disagree. I think his last quarter was one of the best we've seen this season, so he gets the 1 vote. Bailey Dale was really, really good and important when the Dogs were hitting the ground running and up in front on the scoreboard. He gets the 2. And Ollie Florent from the Blues, possibly one of the recruits of the year, in my opinion, gets himself the 3 votes. He's having a great season of half-back and on the wing at times as well. Essendon played host to Walyalup. The Dockers at the MCG and the Dockery Doos got the job done by 43 points. Look, they could have won by a lot more, but they rightly put the cue in the rack in the last quarter. They're travelling nearly 7,000 kilometres round trip to play that game of football. And when the result was beyond doubt, they simply said, well, you know what? We're just going to have a bit of a rest. And they still won by 43 points, which means that they get all the votes. Shea Bolton gets 1. Patrick Voss, the man who kicked 5 goals and upset a lot of Victorians in particular Essendon supporters, because he was passionate about the fact that he was playing for a club that didn't delist him like the Bombers did. But you're regretting that one now. And Murphy Reed, the boy with the purple headband. That triggers me every time I see it, I must admit. But hey, you got to do what you got to do, Big Murph. And he gets the 3 votes, the Rising Star winner from last year. Euro, the Saints took on Richmond at Marvel Stadium, winning by 36 points. Pretty clinical win, that one. Richmond are struggling to put a team together. I think at the moment they have 25 available players, which is the worst possible availability since the GWS Giants only had 23 to pick from back in 2017, and their reserves, full of academy boys, got flogged by about 200 points by the Brisbane Lions, who probably also had a lot of academy boys in their team and about 15 father sons, right? Yeah.
Shut up.
I give 1 vote in this game to Darcy Wilson of the Saints, 2 to Max Hall of the Saints, another player who's putting together a quietly good season that doesn't get talked about enough. And 3, speaking of blokes who don't get talked about enough who are putting together good seasons, Hugo Garcia of the Saints, having a great year. And to finish off the round, wow, Woolwich Marrawa Eagles took on the GWS Giants and said, Giants, we're going to make you look like midgets this week. And Harley Reid and Bailey J. Williams, that's the blondie who shaves his head and has the tattoos, not the one who plays for the Bulldogs and looks clean cut. They just said, boys, get on our backs. We're going to carry this team. And they won by 17 points. So, rightly so, I gave 1 vote to Tim Kelly, his best game of the season, probably his best game in about 2 seasons. 2 to Bailey J. Williams. Probably could have almost got the 3. It was a toss-up. I tossed a coin, heads for Harley, tails for Williams, and it came up heads for Harley. And Harley Reid gets the 3 votes. Fantastic stuff. So let's take a look at the leaderboard now, and we've had a little bit of moving and shaking in the last couple of weeks. Brodie Grundy stays equal first with 16, alongside Bailey Smith of the Cats with 16 as well. Luke Jackson and Marcus Bontempelli have 13 votes each. Christian Petrarca and Nick Dacos, 11 each, and 10 to Zach Butters. And the big move of this last 2 weeks, Johnny Noble. All right, let's get on to the team of the week now. And starting with the defenders, we have Nick Blakey of the Swans, Ollie Florent of the Blues, Johnny Noble of the Suns, Bodie Ewan also of the Suns, Ben Miller is the big dog down there for the Tigers, had a pretty decent game, and Tom Stewart of the Cats. And as you'll find out, it wasn't a really big weekend for the big dogs, the key forwards and the key backs here. A lot of small to medium guys having ripper games that just got in front of them. In the mids, we have Bailey Smith of the Cats, Harley Reid of the Eagles, Noah Anderson of the Suns, Hugo Garcia of the Saints, and Patrick Cripps of the Blues, alongside Brodie Grundy of the Swans as the ruckman. The forwards, we have Sean Manor of the Cats, Max Hall of the Saints, Murphy Reid of the Dockers, who could also go into the midfield at any given time if this team was to play a game. Isaac Rankin, another bloke who could go in and out of the midfield of the Crows. Patrick Voss, the man they call the Prancing Pony. I don't know. If I was Patrick Voss, I don't know if I'd want to have that as my nickname, but hey, you do what you got to do, don't you? And he plays for the Dockers, of course. And Toby Murray of the Crows. As I said, not a lot of action from the big dogs up forward this weekend, but I thought he played a good game. And on the bench, we have Jackson McRae of the Saints, Bailey Dale of the Dogs, Bailey J. Williams of the Eagles, Justin McInerney of the Swans. And here is another guy who just goes and gets the job done every week, having a great year, doesn't get talked about enough. And Dylan Moore of the Hawks had a pretty good game despite the fact that his team got pumped. So that is the end of the team of the week. Again, if so-and-so plays Quidditch or old mate plays barefoot lawn bowls, or if the guy that plays for your team and got 2 kicks plays chess and you still want him in the team, get on to me, let me know. You know how it works. Look, I said I was going to read them all out, but I just I get a lot of DMs about this stuff and I just chuckle about it to myself and think, yeah, one day. All right, let's do the Rolling Ladder Predictor before we finish up for this episode. And we're going to start in 18th position, and Richmond maintain that spot, and I think they will for quite some time. Essendon remain in 17th position. Carlton, despite their win, stay in 16th because Woolwich Marrawa had a win. and they don't lose their spot in 15th position. They stay where they are. But then we have some moves. FOOTY to Power have dropped one spot to 14. And despite losing away from home, it wasn't a big loss. The GWS Giants do go up a spot to 13th. Collingwood at a big move is down to 12th place. They've gone down 3 spots. Goanna, the Crows, have gone up a spot to 11th. They're on the move, possibly. North Melbourne have dropped 2 into 10th place. Western, despite losing, just in a quirk of the fact that a team above them didn't go too well, they've gone up 1 spot to 9th. Get some players back. I think that they're going to have a pretty good run home. They're broken by injuries at the moment. Europe at a big movers. They have moved from 11th place last week, 3 spots to 8th place. They are on fire at the moment, absolutely defeating the teams they should be defeating. And with the luck of the draw, they could be a finals contender this year. In 7th, down 2 places, my boys, the Brisbane Lions. Very disappointing performance on Thursday night. Absolutely heartbreaking to watch. There was just no interest from a lot of boys. Yeah, anyway, let's just move on from that because I'll start crying real tears. The Demons stay in 6th place. The Geelong Cats have moved up 2 spots to 5th. And then we have Gold Coast 4, Hawthorn 3, tentatively. Walyulup in 2 and Sydney in 1. Maintaining their positions from last week. All right, that'll do me, guys. Have a good one. I'll be back on Thursday with my tips. Cheers, guys.